Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Okay, that sounds like it's coming through. What's up, my beautiful people? Welcome back to the Jonathan Benaiah podcast. And if it's your first time here, we use this space to talk about the earth, images, words, wildlife films and photography, and occasionally music. Today's topic, as you already see, we will be talking about what you would need to set up a travel podcast. And this is me talking about what I've got set up over here. This is critically paced to cater for the times that I'm not in the office and many a time on the road, somewhere in a cottage on a safari lodge, or basically out of town where I do not have the luxury of my usual workstation, but still need close to the same quality of production and output that I would get back at the office. So I think we'll have about 8 items. It's just an 8-item list. And number 1 will be a microphone. So you do have the option of stripping things down to really the simplest or most basic. This would include talking right straight into your mobile phone, which quite impressively of late, mobile phones do a lot. And they don't only impress when it comes to cameras, they also pack some pretty amazing audio recorders. Irrespective of what brand you hold of phone or what phone you prefer to use, most phones today will record some I'd maybe just say okay audio for people to listen to. But let's just say you wanted to step things up a bit and still talking basic setup. There is the option of using one of those USB microphones. Of course, the beauty with that is that they have an inbuilt kind of audio interface which converts the signal from an analog to a digital sound, to a digital language that your computer would understand, which then you would later on be able to edit. So those are the 2 really basic options: it's talking into your phone or using a USB microphone. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. I'm here to inspire something a bit more serious. Let's call this the ideal setup for someone taking things a bit more seriously than your contemporary guy just trying to swing it with a mobile phone or a USB mic. Yeah, so let's call this the ultimate gear list for your travel podcast. And in light of microphones, I would be stepping things up a bit from just talking into your mobile phone or USB mic to something a bit more serious. Of course, they always say content is king and queen, but the right choice of gear is meant to enhance your content delivery. And one of the most important things for your podcast is indeed what you talk into, what picks up the audio signal, and that's the microphone. Now, for various purposes and situations, I use a variety of mics that range from shotgun mics to lavalier mics. Those are usually the collar mics that we use for interviews on film. And then there is condenser mics like this particular that I'm talking into right now. And then there is a wide variety of dynamic mics as well. So we will be talking most particularly about the mics you'd use for voice, since we're talking podcast. Yeah, we'll be debating between condenser mics and dynamic mics. Okay, now the condenser mic that I'm speaking into right now gives you this warm, rich sound. But the challenge with the condenser mics is that they pick up quite a bit. They are very sensitive, and you'll get a lot of that background sound, which in recordings is most commonly referred to as noise, and it's what we want to limit as much as possible. Of course, if you were on the road and you are maybe recording out in the wild, you would have to pick up a lot of that noise or a lot of that natural sound. Let me say, if you were recording from your cottage at a safari lodge, it might not be the loudest of places, but it's also not the quietest of places. If you wanted to pick, or rather get a clean audio source. So this leads me to the more ideal microphone for voice and podcast type situations. And these are the dynamic mics. So the phrase goes, dynamic mics are made to be versatile. Of course, as dynamic sounds, they are able to handle high sound pressure levels. So just think of these as the type of mics that offer an all-round solution for many recording situations. The sound produced from a dynamic mic can be described as being mellow and well-rounded. Virtually all dynamic mics have a cardioid polar pattern or polar response pattern, And without getting too geeky or too techy for the average listener, this just means that the microphone filters out noise, helping you isolate your voice or the sound source that is being recorded, which is quite different from the condenser mics. Condenser mics will pick up the sweetness of your voice. It's really high sensitive, but they will also unfortunately result in leaks from any of the sounds that you have happening around you. Condenser mics are more ideal for quiet places and most preferably treated rooms like music rooms or studios. Think of condenser mics as the type of mics that the majority of musicians would use to sing into when they are creating some of those awesome tracks in the studio that eventually top music charts. Dynamic mics, on the other hand, are fashioned in a way that they will isolate the sound source in front of it, so you actually need to talk right into the microphone, so that's in front of the microphone as opposed to behind it, because the way they are designed is that sounds happening behind it are suppressed. Okay, so for dynamic mics, just therefore the closest sound to it is what they will be picking up, and in the case of podcasts and if you're recording a pod, that will definitely be your voice. They do a decent job in isolating your voice even when in crowds. So I've seen guys who do interviews using dynamic mics, and they keep on like swapping this to the person they're interviewing and then bring it back to themselves. And this is because they have that really call it the proximity effect of picking up what is right in front of them, as opposed to condenser mics, which would basically just pick up each and everything around them. Well, of course, I assume we're not going to be recording podcasts in a discotheque or the noisiest place. But ideally, you're looking for a pretty quiet location, but you're not always guaranteed a dead silent location. And that's why for voice, for podcasts, we would really recommend dynamic mics. Okay, the two most common dynamic mics I see used on podcasts, including some of your favorite FM radio broadcasts, are number one, the Shure SM7B, which at the time of recording this podcast retails at around $400. Then the Rode, number two would be the Rode Electro Voice RE20. Now that's quite a mouthful. The Rode Electro Voice RE20. This retails at $450 on Amazon. Yeah, don't cringe just yet. There are more affordable options that I'll be getting into. But I just wanted to throw those out there, as they are pretty much the most popular ones you'll see on like the biggest and the most leading podcasts out there. Okay, so back to the Shure SM7B and the Rode Electro Voice RE20. I'm quite sure if you hit the Google search for both these mics, you'd easily recognize them from either having seen them on one of your favorite podcasters' videos or radio. I've seen mega podcasters like Joe Rogan using the Shure SM7B. The same mic is used by Logan Paul on his podcast. Then there is the Rode Electro Voice RE20, which I have seen featured on Alexandra Cooper's setup. And I guess she used it for a reason. It's because these are industry recognized high quality dynamic mics that are great for voice and great for podcasting. Yeah, so those two mics are quite notably the Ferraris of the podcast world. But I know you must be like me. And you must be like, dude, $450 on a mic, that would be crazy. I just can't afford that right now. And yes, I share that feeling. Not all of us will have that much money to spend on a microphone, and this is why you can count on me to give you the options that won't necessarily break your bank, but still get you decent quality audio for when you are in your recording space, at home or on the road. I'd recommend a series of dynamic mics, as I own a couple of them and I've tested quite a few over the years. And these include dynamic mics from brands like Sennheiser, Shure, and Audio Technica. But I'll go with the industry standard and perhaps the most popular mic ever made. That's the Shure SM58. That's the Shure SM58. You'll see this mic used by singers at live concerts or even at church. Actually, most churches will at least have at least a Shure SM58 lying somewhere. If it's not on stage, then it must be somewhere, at least in the church, maybe in the storage box to be pulled out whenever it's needed. It's a dependable mic. It will feature on some stand-up comedy shows as well, or even I've seen MCs at events that have used it, even for speeches as well. I've seen it being used for speeches, some big occasions. It's certainly the most identifiable microphone out there. Definitely one of the most popular microphones ever made. Your favorite sound engineer will with no doubt at least own one of these Shure SM58 microphones, or even have a couple of them in his arsenal that he'll just pull them out whenever he needs them. It's by no mistake that the Shure SM58 is the most popular live vocal microphone in the world, and that should be the case for the next many years. The Shure SM58 has built quite a strong reputation among musicians over the years. This is because of its durability and sound quality. And it is still considerably the industry's standard for all live vocal performances and just vocal related needs. Quite notably, it was birthed out of its older brother, that's the Shure SM57, the mic that is used by every US president for all speeches since, I believe, 1965 when it first came out. Yeah, that's including Obama, including Trump, and even now Biden still uses it. If you look quite closely, you will be able to note that they usually have two Shure SM57s when the president is making a speech. It's quite a respected mic as well in music. It's used to mic instruments. It's used for snare drums. It's used for so many purposes, and it's been around for a very long time. Yeah, so I own both mics, and I must say both the Shure SM58 and Shure SM57 come with a reputation for offering solid and dependable performance for over 5 decades. Both mics retail for, I guess, currently around $100 on Amazon, and yeah, that's been the price for a while. Maybe just to note, both mics are very rugged and they are built to last. I don't know the number of times I've accidentally dropped my Shure SM58 or SM57, dusted them, and just pick them up, plug them back in, and they work just perfectly fine, as if they're new. In fact, there is a video on YouTube about I think there's a fella who was testing the durability of the Shure SM58, and this guy throws one in the salty waters of the Pacific Ocean, and then I think he then goes ahead and drives twice over it, picks it up, and it's still working. And then I think he did another test. He did a heat test, yeah, he threw it into a grill, and after that he pulled it out, it was still working perfect. Not to say that you should do the same, but that's just a testament to show you how durable and how strongly built these two microphones are, but also the track record of 5 decades just proves how excellent these microphones have been over the years and how dependable and reliable. And usually as a creative, you just need something that will get the work done and will stand the test of time. And these two microphones have stood the test of time. Honestly, I love audio. I've listened to both mics, that's Shure SM58 and the Shure SM57, and with the right basic processing, either of these mics should get the job done without having too much work to do. But since we are talking vocals in particular, I will recommend that you pick up the SM58 in particular, as that is the industry standard for voice related work. Oh, and for those that care to know, SM stands for studio microphone. Moving on to item number 2, we will need a microphone stand definitely. You need some sort of microphone stand, and this can range from one of those desktop tripod stands to a fixed desk arm, one of those desk arms that are fixed to the side of a desk. Or you could go with a contemporary microphone stand that is adjustable. I prefer having the usual microphone stand because then I can move with that. and of course I can use it for other purposes as well. But whatever the case, you just need to get something that suits your creative style. And since we are talking travel podcasts, you want something that you can travel with as well. What am I trying to say? Just don't hold the microphone in your hand as you record. Of course, the mic I recommend does an excellent job of suppressing handling noise. Handling noise is basically the noise you get by holding the mic and moving it within your hands. So even the best mics that do a decent job in reducing or rather suppressing handling noise will still pick up on some of that rambling handling noise. So it's always best to have the mic set up on a microphone stand for the whole duration of the recording. Alright, the number 3, we definitely need a computer. And since we are talking travel podcasts, we want something that we can move with to be able to create while even on the road and outside of the city. And that's most preferably going to be some sort of laptop. I'm not going to go into the debate of what laptop brand to pick up, as I've come to learn that this is more of a preference issue, as most computer manufacturers make quite competitive machines today for all media related needs. They've really gone away from just creating computers that will do Microsoft Word to computers that are quite versatile, that can actually pump quite above their weight to even do some video editing as well. Yeah, but your average computer should be able to handle audio needs. Obviously, one of the key factors to consider as you choose a computer might be the particular software requirements, as some DAWs or DAWs, that stands for Digital Audio Workstations. Some of them may be restricted to one brand. They might be only available for Windows or only available for, let's say, OS. That's Mac OS. Sorry, that's Apple. So you might want to choose a computer if you don't already have one, based on those particular needs. But just to note that there are DAWs or DAWs or Digital Audio Workstations for whatever computer you have. Okay, so I just wanted to mention that pretty much any DAW will work the same without really getting too complex. But of course, there are people that have preference of a particular DAW that would influence the particular machine that they would pick up. The computer you currently own should be fine enough to start with, but podcasters should look for a computer that at least has 8 GB of RAM. And if you are going to really pump things up and become a full-time podcaster, then I'd recommend 16 GBs of RAM. But again, unless you intend to also be editing video, the average computer we use for our day-to-day assignments will most definitely handle the audio finely for a start. Alright, number 4, we will need an audio interface. So let me break this down a bit in very simple terms without necessarily sounding too techy. Remember when I said that we are talking about a setup for someone that is taking things a bit more seriously than those who are just swinging it? Yes. The key factor is that you are not buying one of those crappy USB microphones, but we are getting a professional mic, and more specifically one that runs a standard microphone cable. The most common ones being the ones that have XLR cables, which cables are pretty much universal. XLR cables work for condenser mics, they work for shotgun mics, they work for dynamic mics, so a wide range of mics. So that same cable, the XLR, that's the type of microphone you want, the microphone that uses an XLR cable as opposed to a microphone that uses a USB cable, if you get what I'm saying. The mics aren't sold with a cable, so you'll have to pick up a cable as well. And depending on what length and meters that you need, standard cables won't break the bank. They're not expensive. They're not really expensive, unless of course if you're going for like stage and performance and concert cables, which of course can also be quite pricey, but your usual cable that will get the work done is not expensive. I recommend XLR cables made by a company called Mogami, and the reason is I've tested a couple of cables, but these particular ones are well shielded from interference. Since we might be on the road from time to time out of town, several locations might have interferences, and you want a cable that will be reliable. The challenge though is that with using one of these XLR mics is that they cannot directly plug into your computer. The USB mic makes things easy, but there's a compromise on quality. The USB mic would directly plug into your computer and it would be like an easy plug and play thing. But the XLR type of mic, which offers professional quality, will need to plug into a device before it can go into your computer. And this is where the audio interface comes in. So here's a quick audio mini class of sort. Professional studio microphones pick up your voice or audio source as an analog signal that is then transported through the wire towards your computer. But this analog signal cannot be interpreted by your computer. It needs to first be converted to some sort of digital language that your computer will be able to understand. And then in that way you can later on be able to manipulate the recording, or as we like to call it, edit the audio recording. So that conversion is done by a device called an audio interface. The majority of audio interfaces out there will come with at least one microphone input, or one place where you can plug your microphone. You might also call it a port. They also often feature a headphone output. You could also call it a headphone port for you to be able to monitor your audio as you record or even as you're editing. And then they will also have a USB connection that then goes into your computer and is then read by your software. Most of the audio interfaces will be powered by USB, so you'll not need a separate electricity source. But I understand some of them might need a separate power source, but majority of the audio interfaces will just plug into your computer and be able to pick power off your laptop or computer or whatever computer you have running. The most common interfaces used are produced by, I think it's an English music and audio company called Focusrite. Now these come in 6 different configurations, but okay, let me just list the 6. There is the Scarlett Focusrite Solo. It's a Scarlett Focusrite Solo, and of course Solo means that it only has one input and one output. That particular one retails for about $120. Then there is the Scarlett Focusrite 2i2. This particular one features 2 inputs and 2 outputs. In terms of outputs, we're talking of where you'd be plugging your headphones. Inputs is where you'll be plugging your microphone. Yeah, so the Scarlett Focusrite 2i2 retails for about $160. The previous one, which is the Solo, Scarlett Solo, retails for only, I'm not saying only, it's not cheap for the average creator, but it's cheap compared to audio interfaces out there. Yeah, so as I was saying, the Scarlett Focusrite Solo goes for about $120, while the Scarlett Focusrite 2i2, as you hear the term 2i2, has 2 inputs and 2 outputs. Then there is a Scarlett Focusrite 4i4, and yeah, you guessed right, that particular one has 4 inputs. I need to check how much it retails for. And then they also sell, I think there is a configuration that has 6 inputs. They have an 8 input configuration, and then one that goes all out with 10 inputs. But let's stick to the first 2, from which I'll most likely recommend that you pick up the one that has the 2 inputs. That's a Scarlett 2i2, which was retailing for $160. Even if you're just starting out, I'd definitely recommend that you pick up the one that has the 2 inputs. Should you want to bring on guests in the future, or even use the interface for more professional audio related work, maybe for a client, you will be grateful for having spent that extra $40 for that additional microphone and output input. Microphone input and headphone output. If you look online, you might even land on some second-hand deals, and these things rarely die, so even if you got a second-hand one, you'd really stand a great chance that it would be working just perfectly, and of course that would reduce your cost significantly. All these audio interfaces by Focusrite come with phantom power, which when starting out you might not really know or need phantom power, but as you create, as you if I could say mature as a creative, you'll realize that phantom power is quite valuable for more advanced microphones like condenser mics, and actually it's largely condenser mics that need to be powered by phantom power. You're welcome. Maybe just to note, there are several rival brands to the Scarlett Focusrite that are made by other companies like Behringer, like Presonus, like Zoom, and several other companies, but they all pretty much serve the same purpose, and that is for the purpose of converting your audio from an analog signal to a digital language that your computer will understand. Over the years, I've tested a couple of audio interfaces, and I'm currently glued to an interface that is made by the American-based audio company called Zoom. This particular interface that I'm actually recording into now has 8 different inputs, but that's because I have been a loyal fan of the Zoom brand for years. And I also use it for my client assignments, so I need those extra inputs for other projects. Also, of course, this is more expensive than the Scarlett Focusrite. And of course, that's why I didn't recommend the Zoom. I love Zoom. Probably would have recommended Zoom right away, but looking for the best bet for someone who's just trying to start out. And I think the best bet for professional audio interface would be that Scarlett Focusrite. And I recommend the one that has the 2 inputs. That's the Scarlett Focusrite 2i2 with the 2 microphone inputs, 2 headphone outputs, that retails at about $160. All right, moving on. We need headphones. We need to hear ourselves as we record. Now, depending on how heavy or light you pack, when you travel, our list I see has kind of quite grown. We've accumulated quite a number of items already, and this could have an impact on the weight, or rather the space that you have when you're packing. And I know for some people it's quite important to keep things light. So if you are the type of light traveler, I have an option for you. And then for my friends who don't mind that extra load, you are my guys too, so I do have an option for you as well. Okay, yeah. Now, although it's quite easy to go and pick up, maybe on the road, any headphones or earphones, maybe the same ones you use in your phone, I feel like, and from experience, I've learned that for someone thinking long term, you'll want to buy professional gear. And this has been my thought process over the years. Rather than looking at it as an end or rather as an expenditure, I look at it more in line of a purchase that is an investment that will last me at least 10 years. Whereas the average consumer headphones are great for listening to music or maybe tuning into your favorite podcast or even watching movies, basically consuming content, if I could say. Those particular type of headsets, headphones, earphones have several cons when it comes to recording. So that is to say, when we're talking creating content, those particular style of headphones, earphones, headsets has several downsides. But the 2 biggest challenges I find with those, and which you will face if you picked up just your average consumer headset. Number 1 would be the fact that the majority of consumer headphones have a noise leak. Now, noise leak means that when you are listening to music or when you are listening to anything and someone is seated next to you, many a time they will be able to listen in to what you're hearing. I'm sure you can relate to that. And when we are recording, we do not want that. The ideal situation when you are recording is that the only thing the microphone is focusing on is going to be your voice. But if it's also picking up maybe the podcast soundtrack that is happening in your headphones or something like that, that is not ideal. We want headphones that feature a closed back because if you are recording into a mic, we will have just the voice being picked up. So simply put, the ideal position is to only have the mic picking up your voice and not the noise, or rather any extra sounds coming from around you or even from your microphones, headphones. Yeah, then secondly, and perhaps the greater reason, most important reason, or rather the greater reason why I wouldn't recommend your average consumer headphones is that they are manufactured to sound good. And that can be deceiving because that's not necessarily the case always when you are recording. the recording situation, you want something that gives you closest to real sound for the place or room location that you are recording in. And that helps that you're able to hear any anomalies, able to hear the noises, but also able to get a flat sound profile so that you find remedies for any issues that you might be having at the location. Several creators will say, of course, you can record and fix things in the edit, but every professional will tell you that editing should be just to add that final touch, that final flavor, and in Uganda we call it curry powder or kanzari. It's just to add that extra oomph or that extra flavor to the mix. And this also applies for video as well. You really want to get the recording right on the location so that in the edit it's much enjoyable and it's less about fixing issues but more about improving the output. Okay, so my recommendation will be the following for headphones. For headphones, and headphones I'm talking about the ones that go over your head. I guess you can picture that, the ones that go over your head, not the ones that go into your ear. The ones that go into your ear I would call earphones or some sort, but I'm talking headphones, the ones that wrap around your head. Yeah, so number one would be the Sony MDR 7506 headphones. The Sony MDR 7506 headphones. Now these have been the industry standard and are a long-time favorite for so many audio professionals. They offer more reliability, more comfort, and better sound overall than many headphones that would be priced like twice or even 3 times their price. They are to this day still present in some of the world's biggest studios and can be seen if you are quite attentive to, if you're watching call them behind the scenes of the recordings of some of your best tracks ever, you might be able to spot a Sony MDR 7506 either being used by the producer or just lying somewhere around the studio. You can even see them on radio, you'd see them used on movie sets, and basically everywhere where professional audio is a priority. Now, the rivals to the Sony MDR 7506 are the Sennheiser HD 280s. These are the Sennheiser HD 280s. Now, these work quite similarly to, I feel like the sound profile is still flat, quite similar to the Sonys. These seem to have a slightly more pronounced lower end, or rather bass. But that's just what I hear when I compare these two headphones. Of course, my preference is definitely the Sony MDR 7506. But if you prefer the Sennheiser brand, and there's the Sennheiser HD 280s, you might actually just prefer they call them the way they are built. Because the Sonys look strangish, they look funnish. I know some people tease them because they look very simple, very basic. So you might want to choose the Sennheiser HD 280s. I just felt like when I wore them, they were quite hard on my head. Yeah, but that's just a preference. What am I just saying? For headphones, we're looking for headphones that have what we call a closed back. And then that goes back to the point of when we're recording is that these headphones will not be leaking sound out of the headphones back into the microphone. Okay, so those are the two headphones. Then for people who prefer to pack light, as I said, I do have an option for you, and that's the option of using in-ear monitors. They look like earphones. Of course, you can call them earphones, but they're not your average contemporary consumer earphones. Of course, you can use them to listen to music. They will sound great, but we call them in-ear monitors or IEMs. The recommended ones for podcast kind of situation will be the Shure SE215. That's the Shure SE215 Pro. And these are sound isolating earphones, so they will zone you out into the recording, and the beauty with them is that they also offer quite a flat sound profile. They're not like really pumping up the basses or the bass line or bass side of things. These ones will work quite well, quite similarly to the guys that are using headphones. Yeah, so all three options will retail for not more than $100, and these will be the flattest and fortunately the most real sounding headphones to get the job done. They will also be valuable when it comes to editing and mixing your podcast. Actually, if you choose to pick up the Sonys, you'll see they have studio monitors written on the side, and that is written there just to remind you that these are professional creator headphones that work quite similar to the studio speakers, which we call studio monitors. And there's a reason why the Sony MDR7506 have been around for years, like the Shure SM58. Those two have been in some sort of marriage for years, and they've stood the test of time. They are still sweethearts for so many audio professionals out there. Okay, the number 7, we definitely need to pick up a carrying bag if we don't already have one. We want to keep our gear all nice and safe and organized as well. The carrying bag could be, maybe you could decide to pick up a separate audio bag like I do, or you can still use your laptop bag. I know for a fact that the microphones usually come with a pouch, like a small bag with a zipper, which you can put your microphone in and ensure that it's safe. Zip it and then just put it into your laptop bag. But things like the interface would usually not come with a bag, so you would need some sort of place to store them, and also when you're packing, you don't want to throw them into your suitcase, because I guess when you begin to create, you're not going to be running around with your suitcase always. Creatives are often accused of being very disorganized, so you want to change that narrative. Keep things tidy with some sort of carrying case or bag. It will make it easier and faster to find things you need, and it will just keep your things safe as well. All right, then number 8, which is a final one. Of course, this episode is already getting quite longer than I'd wanted. So if you guys would like me to dive a bit deeper into this same subject, I'd be glad to perhaps in another episode handle that. And if there are any other things that you'd want me to pick up on, do let me know in the comments below, and I will be sure enough to plan for that. Alright, so number 8 is your software. You definitely need software. Remember, we went from a microphone. Your microphone has a cable, it's on a microphone stand. It's plugging into an audio interface, which is then converting your signal into a digital language. That goes into your computer. Now on your computer, you need some sort of software that will then interpret the sound, record it, but then also be able to edit it later on. Alright, so as I said earlier on, this software is professionally called a DAW, depending on what part of the world you come from. When you say a DAW, it kind of sounds like a DAW you would have on your house, but it's an acronym that stands for Digital Audio Workstation, and that's DAW. So I don't know if you might pronounce it as DAW or DAW or whatever the case it is. Yeah, but that's a digital workstation that you will need for any audio recording or any audio related work. So if you want to sound like a pro to your rather amateur friends when they call you, just tell them, man, I'm busy, I'm working in a DAW, or I'm busy working in a DAW, please call me back later. Might get you some bragging rights. Okay, so there's a long list, but perhaps the key things to note when deciding which software you want to dive into, I think for me would include what editing features it offers, and then secondly, whether the company offers technical support. Like, what's the technical support like? If I hit a snag, or if I was looking for troubleshooting help, how easy is it to get technical support? And this could be from the company or even from free platforms like YouTube. If you find like several creatives complaining about a particular DAW, about how complex it is, how many bugs it has, then probably you might not want to go that route. The number 3 of just things to include, or rather pay attention to when you're choosing what DAW to work in, that's the file storage, as in how big the program is and how it processes the data. There are programs that really eat up a lot of computer space really, really fast, so you want to keep an eye out for that. And then number 4, I think for me, would be whether it offers both single and multi-track recording. Now, in very simple terms, single recording is where you only have the software just recording one input. So that's like I'm talking into the program right now. Is that I'm actually talking into 2 microphones. So I do have a dynamic mic to the side as backup, and of course the condenser mic that we've been listening to all throughout. What was I saying? Yeah, so there's an option of there are softwares that can only take one input. The challenge with that is that, let me say, if you are recording a podcast that has, maybe you are with a guest or it has more than one speaker, then whatever you're recording would come into the program as one channel. If I could call them like one rod, they would all be using one rod. The problem with that is that when it comes to editing is that you cannot separate the microphones at that point. It is like I think the analogy of the rod represents it better. So for instance, if one of the microphones was slightly quieter than the other, you would not be able to adjust them in the edit. And that's where multi-track recording is most important. Because with this, you will be able to record all the channels, will have all the inputs or all the microphones. And by microphones, I mean the speakers you have on the podcast will have separate channels. So that is, they would be recording into separate lanes of the road, if I could use that as an example. And when it comes to editing, you're able to separate them. You can work on that person's voice alone, then you can work on yours alone, and then bring them to the desired level. So that's where it's key to note that the DAW you're using, or rather picking or choosing to record into, supports multi-track recording. Then finally would definitely be the price of the software. Okay, so obviously I'm the curious type, and I've tried almost all DAWs, and of course that's for your benefit as well. That I've used so many of them, and of course there are plenty of DAWs out there, including free ones like there's one that has a blue. It has a blue icon. No, that's Audacity. Audacity is free of charge, and it's really awesome. Actually, it offers almost all the pro features. I still jump into Audacity once in a while for simple, quick assignments. But I know podcasters that actually use it on a day-to-day basis, and it gets the job done. It has some very nice effects as well. But for my preference, most of the time I'm in Adobe Audition, because I edit video using an Adobe platform or software, and then I also edit pictures using an Adobe platform or software. But that shouldn't be the reason for you to decide on using Adobe Audition, because there's several other programs out there. I also use Logic from time to time, depending on what we're working on. As I said earlier on, there are programs that work only on PC, but then there are also programs that only work on Mac. So you might want to pay attention to that if you are maybe just heading out to, let's say, buy a computer, or even for those that would want to go for the paid softwares. You want to pay for a software that works for the operating system. For PC, it would be Windows, definitely. For Apple, it would be Mac OS. So for PC users, you have several options to choose from. Of course, Audacity is like the number one for people just starting out. It's free of charge. And as I said, it has most of the features that you'll need. It's awesome. Then there is the option of Reaper. I believe Reaper comes at a fee. There is the option of using Ableton Live. Ableton is also to be paid for. Of course, there is Adobe Audition, which works both on PC and Apple. And then there is Avid Pro Tools. All the last four are paid for. Audacity is free of charge. Then for the Mac or Apple users, there is Audacity as well, which works on Apple. It's free of charge as well on Mac. I think Macs also come pre-installed with GarageBand. I need to check, I'm not so sure. But I think GarageBand comes pre-installed, and then I would imagine that's probably free. You do have Ableton Live, works on Mac as well. Logic Pro, I believe, is only Apple. It's Mac only. Of course, it comes at a fee as well. Adobe Audition works on Mac as well, of course, at a fee. Reaper at a fee. Avid Pro Tools at a fee as well. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for today. This started out as a random thought, a random piece, but it's got a lot longer than I thought. I, however, hope you found some useful nuggets and will be out there creating awesome sounding audio. So if you liked this, please go ahead and hit the thumbs up. And if you didn't, just feel free to hit the thumbs down as well. It's good feedback. And for those that want more, please go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, whether you're listening on YouTube and any of those other streaming platforms like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I believe the podcast is also available on Spotify, Radio Republic, Pocket Cast, and several other platforms. All right, I'll see you next time.